Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Bostic. I'm with White Pony Express. Please be aware that we will be recording the session and it will be available on demand after the event. Also, remember to please drop all questions into the chat for the question and answer portion. You are at Begged, Borrowed, or Bought, Rescues by the Truckload. We have Sammy Paul, Executive Director at foodrecovery.org. Sammy, take it away.
Thanks so much, Anna. I'll give Patrick a second to pull up slides as well. Awesome. Thanks so much, Anna, for the introduction, and thank you all for being here. I'm Sammy Paul. I'm the Executive Director at foodrecovery.org, and excited to chat with you all today about rescuing food by the truckload, what that looks like, and the strategies we use to make it happen. So I'll start with a little bit of background about our organization. Foodrecovery.org connects organizations with surplus food to communities in need. So we have an online platform that helps facilitate communication. We offer a lot of logistical support and any other support needed to transport food donations. We have two major goals, one being to reduce food waste, and the second to reroute surplus food to those facing food insecurity. We're kind of this middle connector piece between businesses with extra food and nonprofits directly distributing to their communities. Next slide, please. I'll give you a little bit of a background and just a snapshot into what our impact looks like. We recover more than 1 million pounds of food each and every week. We work nationwide, so this is across the country. I just took a snapshot of the first week of this month to give you an idea. Q4 is our busy season, so our numbers aren't always quite this high, but first week of the month, we recovered more than 1,500 pallets of surplus food. That's 55 truckloads and more than 1.4 million pounds of palletized food. We also do non-palletized food donations, thinking of surplus from events, or schools, but just for the sake of this presentation and the majority of our work is palletized donations. You can see a photo here on the right of a couple pallets of produce. There's some cucumbers and some bagged potatoes, which is great. Could you hit the next slide, please? Awesome, thank you. So there are three main strategies that I want to cover for how we make this palletized food recovery happen. First is partnering with others. So you can see this first picture on the left here is a whole bunch of food and two great drivers with Laborers of the Harvest based out of California. They have a whole fleet of trucks and drivers, so it's been great to partner with them. If we get an extra pop-up in their area of food donation, tapping into their network of their drivers and their staff to make that pickup happen. The middle photo here is extra produce that Sharing Excess organized and sorted through in New York City, where I'm based. They work out of the Hunts Point Produce Market, collect all the surplus food from vendors, and then connect it out to other nonprofits. So we're one of the nonprofits that receives some of this extra food. The furthest right picture, you can see a photo of Brian, who's a driver with another nonprofit organization, Grassroots Grocery. So both foodrecovery.org and Grassroots Grocery receive this extra palletized produce. Brian does one big pickup at the Hunts Point Produce Market and then multiple drop-offs for different nonprofits. So another great way that we're partnering with other organizations and their team of drivers to be able to move more surplus. And it's just kind of a win-win. Brian's already at the Hunts Point Produce Market picking up, already planning to do some drop-offs, and he can just add ours in there. I'll also give a special shout out to Stephanie, who's also on this panel, Moves for Hunger. We also work with Moves for Hunger a lot. I just don't have any photos, so didn't throw that in there. But yeah, another great partner. Could you hit the next slide, please? Awesome, thanks. The second strategy we use to move surplus produce and other food items is working with a third-party logistics partner. So we don't have any drivers on our own staff, saves us a lot of hassle with insurance and a lot of other nitty-gritty pieces. We just broker everything out, which also works well because we do work nationwide. So if you are another organization that has a really wide range geographically where you work, this is another great option. The two main third-party logistics partners we work with are TQL and Five Horizons Transit, but there are many others that we work with on a regional basis. So this is really helpful, just especially with last-minute pickups. A lot of what we do is dairy. So you can see this picture on the left here. Is one of our partner organizations who receive pallets and pallets of yogurt. I think they actually might both be yogurt, the photo on the left and on the right. So it's an easy way to do quick pickups. If product is short dated, we can work with a third-party logistics partner to pick up, sometimes same day, usually within a few days. Next slide, please. The third strategy to recover truckloads of food is rejected loads. So this is something kind of relatively new for our organization, getting into just full truckloads that have been rejected for a variety of reasons. Of course, there are some times that a truckload of food is rejected and is not consumable, not in good condition. In those cases, we really urge the driver and product owner to compost or dump the product if needed. But a lot of times what we've been noticing is we'll get a call from a truck driver that says, hey, in this case with these bananas, this was last week, he said, hey, I got rejected from the retailer that I was dropping off at. The reefer truck was supposed to be maintained at 45 degrees. There was a couple hours that my reefer bumped up to 50 degrees. They saw the temp log and they turned me away. So I have this full truckload, 33,000 pounds of bananas. Here's where I am. Here's where I'm heading for my next pickup. Do you have somewhere that I can drop off in the next 2 hours? So we activated our network, called around, emailed around, and connected this with G Foods, who's based in Hamilton, Ohio. They said, no problem. We have staff here right now. The driver can come right away. And this rejected load recovery strategy has been really, really great to connect food to organizations that don't have their own trucks, can't pay for transportation. It's an area that we can't cover transportation. We do pay for a lot of loads, but grant funding is limited. So this is a great way to have the driver drop off free of charge for everyone involved, which is great. And that way the food's getting recovered instead of thrown away. So you can see there's lots and lots of bananas here. They're in great condition. This is before consumers would even see the bananas on the shelf. So a lot of times the product's still really great. There's a whole vetting process that we have to make sure the load is in fact good before we donate. Could you hit the next slide, please? Awesome, thanks. So on this rejected load side, this is something that we see as a really big opportunity to connect food really, really quickly to those in need and save on the transportation cost. Because of course, when we partner with other organizations, we know that it's a big cost for them or sometimes a shared cost between us and them. The second strategy I mentioned, using a third-party logistics partner, that does get very expensive. And with limited grant funding, we're all nonprofits, could always use some free transportation. So collecting more of these rejected loads is one of our main goals. So we're working on building out an app. We've been partnering with another nonprofit food recovery group called Epicure. They're based in Florida, to build out an app so drivers can connect directly with nonprofits, kind of take us a little bit more out of the equation because these need to happen so fast, and allow drivers to connect directly with a nonprofit nearby that can take this load for them. So that's some exciting thing to hopefully be coming in the next year. We're hoping to launch. So please stay tuned. And yeah, hopefully we can work with you on that. Next slide, please. And that's really it for me. Some action steps if you're interested in getting involved, recovering food by the truckload. One is to reach out if you'd like to work together. I left my contact information there. Would love to hear from you. Would love to work with you. You can see more information on our website, foodrecovery.org. We have a partnership agreement for nonprofit partners to fill out. You can fill it out right there, foodrecovery.org/partnerships. And we'd love to work with you, connect you with more surplus food that's palletized. Also encourage you to connect with a third-party logistics partner. That's a great way to just get started, even if it's just, one load a month that you want to recover. And then also encouraging more warehouses and distribution centers to donate, because there's so much food out there, and hope we can get it out to our communities instead of throwing it away. So that's all from me. I'll pass back to you, Anna. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sammy. That was so interesting and so innovative too. Very cool. All right, next we have Keith DeVries, Logistics Operations Manager at 412 Food Rescue. Take it away, Keith. Can you unmute, Keith? Thanks.
I sure can. Hello, good morning. Thanks, Anna. Double thanks. Yeah, I'm with 412 Food Rescue. I have been with the organization since September 2021. It's just a little over 3 years. Currently the logistics operations manager, responsible for both our fleet operations as well as our dispatch. I will be kind of going through talking about the benefits of having our 2 refrigerated trucks and 1 large cargo van, as well as how those kind of decisions between from our dispatchers, whether they're going to route something to a volunteer or to our fleet, working with me to deciding how best to serve our partners and to rescue this food. So jump to the next slide, please. So rescues by the truckload, right? This is Amy, not named like an old ship, but named for AIM National Lease. This is the trucking and leasing company from which we rent our 2 vans, or excuse me, our 2 trucks, very obviously. And that's Amanda Pagniello, who is our dispatch coordinator, posing with the fleet. So yeah, food recovery fleet. We use it to collect large amounts of surplus food from donors and distribute it to those who need it, where they need it. Really, it plays a crucial role in minimizing food waste, reducing hunger, and supporting all of our operations and communities in need by most efficiently transporting surplus food from where it's available to where it is needed most. Our trucks cover a 7 county, all of greater Pittsburgh, picking up really all around the city in Western Pennsylvania. We're aiming to move about 166,000 pounds per month. And we are on track this year in 2024 to rescue 2 million pounds on the truck and our fleet. That is the 2 trucks and the van alone. Skipping on to the next slide, you can see what the makeup is here. So currently we are running those 2 trucks. It's a Ford F450 and the Isuzu N Series, so Izzy, as well as our Dodge Ram ProMaster 2500. This one was actually donated by Whole Foods. So if you were in the FDC, or if you were watching the FDC session first thing in the morning, after pandemic times hit, FDC was able to kind of encourage Whole Foods to donate 30 vans to food rescue organizations across North America, which is incredible. We were one of those beneficiaries, thankfully. Go on to the next slide. I included this. So our very first truck, we called it Big Green, and it is pictured there on the right with Pittsburgh Pirates superstar Andrew McCutcheon. Andrew was awarded, I don't know if it was MVP or something in that ballpark, 2015, 2016. He signaled that he wanted to, I guess his agent turned him, opened his ear to 412 Food Rescue. He was looking for a great organization to support. Because of this award, Chevrolet wanted to give him a truck. He said, I don't want this truck. Let's give it to 412 Food Rescue. So the very first truck that we owned came as a result of that. He has continued to contribute toward our vehicle maintenance and leasing over the years since then. You'll see how that comes into play in a few slides here. But generally, why are we using trucks instead of trying to send rescues with volunteers? First off, our donors. A lot of our donors, our biggest donors to the fleet specifically by volume, a lot of them, they're truck lots where you cannot send regular passenger vehicles or really volunteers to go. Fairly dangerous. You need to know, where the trucks are moving and be able to drive courteously and have the approval there. So these trucks do enable us to get to sites and donor sites that volunteers and other rescuers wouldn't be able to reach. We use it for sorting and storage. We as an organization don't have any warehousing or storage, so we try to fill the truck up every day. About 6 pallets is what fits on each of those, and empty it by the end of the day as well. This enables us to schedule routes about a month out at this point. We've been working hard to really expand our logistics and our planning, and that is a great help. It also helps with emergency response, and this is either, actual crisis situations. Say Arnold Towers had a fire and 25 of the residents were displaced a couple summers ago. We were able to pick up a few ad hocs or rescues that were maybe scheduled to go somewhere, and we were able to divert those to residents in acute need. On a broader scale, we very often get ad hoc donations either through our online donation form or just by calls to the dispatch line. And we are able to make a little audible, say, hey, you're passing through the Strip District outside downtown Pittsburgh. Can you stop at Sunfresh? In fact, yesterday morning, as most of us are down here at the hotel for the conference, we got a call from Sunfresh. They said, we have 300 flats of tomatoes. We're just like, I thought tomato season was over. It is ending, but one of our trucks was able to pick up 150 flats to take to a single nonprofit partner. And the rest of those were actually picked up. We cleared out the entire donation in one day, which is, especially for the fact that we were mostly at this conference, it's a real achievement. So hats off to our dispatch team there. Usually it's a 2, sometimes 3-day process. So really, really great stuff there. Obviously partnering with nonprofits. All of our nonprofits that we deliver to, we consider a partner. They're not just recipients. They're not receiving this food. Very many of them are volunteering their own time. And in some cases, spending their own money to maybe procure food for their programs, et cetera. So we're able to work hand in hand with these nonprofit partners to see when their food distributions are, when is the optimal time for us to bring this food. When you're dropping, let's say, a pallet's worth of food, we're breaking down each pallet and getting specific items as best we can to those partners. They need a lot of lead time. Sometimes they're breaking down bulk items and repackaging them into something that is appropriate for individuals or families. So we do work really closely with those nonprofit partners. And of course, in distribution, we do clear that truck every day. Moving on. So what are the pros and cons of having a fleet? This is quite a long list, and you can see that the cons look longer. There are more there, right? But let's start with positives. It enables you to be flexible as an organization. It enables mobility and efficiency. We can get a whole lot of items on one truckload rather than sending 7 volunteers' cars to fill up. Accessibility, timely service. When you lease or own your own vehicles, you're in control of those vehicles, and you don't have to wait and make that call to say, hey, can somebody come down with your cargo van, something like that. We know from experience. I've talked to Jen about this a lot. In the past, at the very beginning, at the outset, Jen was probably the one going to food donors and saying, do you have anything for us? And then when she got the okay, she would go ahead and start making those calls. So having the fleet ready to roll is a huge advantage, and it helps us do more and serve more of our partners. There's obviously like safety and cost management that you're more in control of. Customization and visibility is a really big one for us. Our trucks are large and green. They do a great job of showing that we are out in the community. It's kind of hard to miss when we're on the road. And we're able to kind of wrap and customize the look of these as we please. We're able to collect data, and we actually have trackers doing mileage. We try to account for cost per pound, cost per mile, or pounds versus miles. All these efficiency metrics. Emergency response, as I mentioned, scaling and growth is a big one. Maybe, we started with one truck. Now we have 3 vehicles in the fleet. Into the next 2 years, I'm hoping to expand that more, but nothing set yet. Then on to the cons. Obviously, trucks are expensive. Refrigerated trucks are even more expensive. So there's a very high initial cost. And once you own, and this is why we lease our vehicles, they depreciate immediately. It's just like buying a car for yourself. It has ongoing expenses. There's maintenance, there's fuel costs. There's an environmental impact, which we were careful to balance. Driver management, vehicle tracking and security. These can be both pros or cons, I guess. You're paying liability and insurance. And then we are dependent on these vehicles. So in our case, there's only one refrigerator, there's one, I won't say their name, reefer service center in Greater Pittsburgh. So they're very busy, and we are reliant on them to get those vehicles back out to us and on the road. And of course, organizations have changing needs. Maybe your large bulk donor decides to stop donating, but you have this truck. It's a lot of overhead if you're not using it. That's a potential risk. Sliding on to the next one. I don't want to do like food recovery 101 here, but when we're trying to determine different rescues and how to route those, we're looking mainly at where is the donation. So our large food distributors and warehouses, that's a great place to send a truck rather than a volunteer. Grocery stores we do have grocery store pickups every day. Trader Joe's specifically, that is a place we're sending a truck. Convenience stores and smaller pickups obviously go toward volunteers. We do pick up directly from the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, and as well as other nonprofits. We call it kind of re-rescuing food. If they have something that they're not able to give to their communities, we're happy to go and pick that up, and we have the ability with our fleet to do that. And both fleet and volunteers are instrumental in our in-house food initiatives. So we have a grocery bagging program, a kitchen program, making prepared meals, and things like this. Jumping quickly away from fleet, onto the next slide, please. I mentioned dispatch at the top, and our dispatchers are really instrumental in making this happen as well. It's the front line of incoming donations for the most part. We use fact-finding questions to understand which donations should be set for volunteers for the fleet, or a mixture of both. And we're coordinating with fleet operators to understand schedule, where they're at, capacity, as well as setting rescues for volunteers aligned more for individuals. On to the next slide. Dispatch is also, as I have become logistics operations manager from being the fleet manager, I'm trying to bring these two teams together, and that's why I'm talking about dispatch here. But yeah, dispatchers are communicating, coordinating on the fly. We call it the eye in the sky, or the man in the van. I kind of like have all the tech and the connections. We're also serving as an escalation point for when rescues may present issues or questions. Communicative and connective tissue between our operations. On the next slide, you can see a picture of our van there, filled to the brim with boxes from Trader Joe's. So yeah, we're looking at size and packaging, the time frame of a donor, and their donation window, their location, and again, our nonprofit partner needs. So the two pictures on the right are volunteer pickups. It's our super volunteer, Joanne Arond on the bottom, and Kate from Apteca donating some amazing pierogies, vegan pierogies at that. The next slide is just a little decision tree, once again, for when we get those inbound calls to dispatch or those donation forms. We're finding out packaging. Is it palletized? Is it boxed? Is it open? What's the timing? Yeah, just to give you an eyeful there. So on the next slide, effective coordination and communication are really key to optimizing the work between volunteers and fleet, ensuring that our operations are efficient, safe, and impactful. Safety is not first. That is one of the big things that we've stressed this year in training, and that we've always been we had our attention toward is safety. When you do have these large vehicles, you have to drive carefully. You are taking up, a lot of the road. Our drivers are not CDL licensed, nor do they have to be. But we do. So with that, we have a pretty intense training and distracted driving courses, defensive driving courses. We have about 5 to 6 weeks before a new hire will take the wheel for the first time. So on to the next slide. This is just a quote from Rachel Carson saying, "In nature, nothing exists alone." So you can have a fleet, you can have these trucks, but if you don't have the connections and the partnerships and the internal, connections with that dispatch team or whoever, your ops manager, whoever's taking those calls and planning the logistics, doesn't work that well. So the next slide here is action steps. If you are looking to expand into fleet operations, work with your teams and your organization to assess the impact that refrigerated trucks can make for your operations and your partner communities. If you are, onboarding a new donor that wants to give, let's say, 1 full truckload a week, 2 full truckloads, it could really be worth it to bite the bullet and pay those upfront costs and pay those maintenance fees, because it's going to pay dividends for your partners and the food that you're able to rescue. Connecting with your funders and donors. Like I said, Andrew McCutcheon from the Pirates was able to kind of kickstart our fleet journey. Look around to the hometown heroes where you are to champion your organization and its mission. Like I said, Jen England told me it wasn't just Kutch, it was his agent. So she said, make sure that you have the ear of the people who have the ear of these superstars or these heroes. And they don't all have to be, professional athletes. They can be your local meteorologist if they're really popular, whoever. It's great work that we do, and it should be celebrated and shared, right? Collaborate with food rescue hero partner organizations like 412 Food Rescue that own or lease trucks in order to ideate and strategize on building your own fleet. And then you can also follow along on our trucks journeys by following our social media pages, our page, I should say, at 412 Food Rescue. And then, we can go to the next slide. Do we want to hold questions till the end? Or
Thank you, Keith. Sure. We're going to hold questions to the end. Thank you for the insight into having your own fleet. Next up, we have Stephanie De La Hoz, Director of Programming at Move for Hunger.
Thank you. So excited to be sharing with you all today. I love the point that Keith left us off on collaborating and finding other people in this space to work with. I thought that was a great tip. Sammy at foodrecovery.org and Move for Hunger have done a lot of work together, and it's been a way for us to reach our goals independently, but at the same time collaborating. So I love that you include that, Keith. I will be talking about how we rescue by the truckload at Move for Hunger. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Our mission statement: we're a national nonprofit organization that mobilizes transportation networks to deliver surplus food to communities in need. Next slide. How it all started. So 15 years ago, our founder and our current executive director, Adam Lowy, was working for his family's moving company in New Jersey, and he saw how much food people were throwing away every day, every time he was involved in a move. So he kindly just started asking people a very simple question: would you like to donate your food when you move? And he personally would take the food afterwards and deliver it to the local food bank. In the first month, he recovered over 300 pounds of food and started thinking, what if every moving company across the country did this? Imagine how much food we could rescue on a regular basis. Next slide. So we're fast forwarding to today, 15 years later. We have over 1,200 moving companies in our network who are part of the Move for Hunger network, and they have helped us transport over 53 million pounds of food, which have provided over 44 million meals to food banks and pantries across the US and Canada. Next slide. So our moving companies play a key role into everything we do, but it all started with that Donate Your Food When You Move program. So we connect movers to their local food bank or pantry, and we teach them how to implement this as a daily part of their operation. So it doesn't seem like a huge lift of something additional that they have to do, but we really try to train their teams on how to implement this in their daily operations. Along the way, we keep track of their impact. We train our movers to request a weight receipt once food has been delivered. They send that weight receipt back to us, and we keep track of everything they do throughout the year, and we highlight those milestones with them along the way. Our movers also help us in our other programs, which I'll touch on here shortly, where they're also recovering and deliver food in different ways. Our moving companies volunteer their time and resources to do this. Which is one of the big key reasons why at Move for Hunger, we never have to charge the people donating food or the people receiving the food. All of our services are free of charge. One of the benefits that we highlight when talking to movers, often at conferences or other industry events, is that doing good is good for business. We've learned, especially with the moving industry, this is an industry that's constantly battling negative news. Unfortunately, there's scammers out there that pose as movers. And this is an industry specifically that's constantly looking for positive ways to shine light on the good that they're doing. They're looking for ways to give back and make a positive impact in their community. Next slide. We also have, as part of our transportation network, some multifamily suppliers that support our food recovery efforts. So we have a multifamily program, which currently has over 2,700 apartment communities across the US and Canada. And our multifamily communities collect food when residents move out, very similar to how our movers do. And they also host food drives through the year. We try to make it as easy as possible for them. We have some really fun campaigns and themes that they can use for these food drives. We make them custom flyers. We'll send them food collection bags. And then once the food drive wraps up, or once a residents move out and there's food available, they will let us know, and then we'll contact a mover or another company that's in our network to go pick up the food and deliver it to the food bank. Along with our movers, we've had several multifamily suppliers donate their time and resources to support our multifamily program. I've included a few of the logos on the right here. So these are companies that are involved in some type of service that they offer the multifamily industry. Our largest supporter is Court, which is at the top. They are the nation's largest furniture rental company, and they are involved a lot in these multifamily events and just in the multifamily space. They have also committed to helping us pick up food from these apartment communities when they have food from a move out or from a food drive, and their representatives deliver the food to the local food bank. So some of the benefits that we try to highlight when we're talking to multifamily suppliers is that they will get some face time with these properties. They'll build that rapport that will strengthen their relationship and might eventually lead to some business down the line. And these companies also have their own social environmental impact goals, which motivate them to want to also do something to give back to the community and lessen their environmental footprint. Next slide. The last part that I will highlight of our transportation network is our charity freight network, which just launched this year. This network is supporting our bulk food recovery program, where we rescue fresh and non-perishable food in bulk from farms, grocery stores, food manufacturers, basically anyone who might have surplus food that could be donated. We work with a number of 3PLs, and we've already had a few join this network, and they commit to donating 1 load per quarter to transport donated food in our bulk food recovery program. Our team keeps track of the impact in pounds and also carbon offsets. So the benefits that we highlight to these potential 3PLs that could join our charity freight network is that it promotes their initiatives for giving back, sustainability, and it also generates business for their company. And we do this because we do have a budget that allows us to pay for a lot of these transports throughout the year. And in turn, the companies are donating one load per month, which helps us out tremendously. So at the same time, we are giving them business throughout the year, but they're also involved in donating some of that transportation along the way. Next slide. Here are some action steps, some things you can hopefully take away from this. If you're working for an organization and transportation is one of your big challenges, if you are rescuing food in bulk, whether it's fresh or non-perishable, and you need help with some transportation, I encourage you to email me or my team, which is the bulk recovery at moveforhunger.org, or my email directly, stephanie@moveforhunger.org. If you are with an organization and you're looking to expand your transportation network, I tried to leave some tips here that I've learned along the way at Move for Hunger. I encourage you to think of other companies in the industry you're working in that might be interested in providing free transportation. Think of the suppliers and those who want contact with those food donors. So you can think if you're rescuing from restaurants, from event venues, who are some other people in those spaces. It would be great also if they were people who had trucks already in their fleet as part of their company's operations that could donate that. Highlight the benefits of donating transportation to your organization. It'll be good press for them. You can highlight their works on your social media and in your communications as well. They will get FaceTime with potential clients. They will be supporting their company's social environmental goals by partnering with you. Track their impact and highlight their milestones along the way, whether that's on social media, in your email blast, maybe you have events in person and you want to highlight what these companies are donating to your organization. Please remember to always keep track of what everyone's doing and highlight what they're doing. It only makes the relationship even stronger. And by doing this, you can reduce your expenses by expanding your donated transportation resources. We all know that at some point, there are times when many of us have to pay for transportation, but as nonprofits, anything we can do to reduce our expenses is just going to allow us to rescue more food in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was awesome. I love that you're giving ideas for us to diversify and grow and expand our the way we pick up food. It's awesome. All right, so now we're gonna switch over to our question and answer session. Let me see what's in the chat. All right, I don't see any questions, but I do have follow-up questions for all of you. So in particular, I think logistics is very interesting from organization to organization. And so I have a burning question about your logistics for these larger deliveries and pickups that are like pallet sized or too big for a small vehicle. How do you track the logistics for those larger donations? Are you using paper and pencil? Are you using an Excel spreadsheet? Is it in a Word doc? How do you track it? Or are you using an app? Do tell. Stephanie, would you like to go first?
Sure. I will share at Move for Hunger. We're still pretty old school. We track everything by phone and email. Our CRM is Salesforce, so we do have a record every time we're moving food from point A to point B, and we have all the details in there. Our team that is directly responsible for coordinating all those is a team that is very aware that they need to be heavily involved in the process because many things can go wrong when we are transporting food. So they know to constantly check email, be on the phone with people if they haven't heard from them in a while. And so they are definitely heavily involved along the way, even once everything has been scheduled.
Great. Sammy, can you go next?
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty similar. We use a collaborative spreadsheet with our team to track everything. It's been really helpful to have, this is something our large procurement manager, William, implemented when he started with us, but every donation has a load procurement number. So that's been really, really helpful. We can just track with our brokers, with our partners, with follow-up paperwork, everything's connected to one number. So that's been really helpful. For our smaller donations, we automate a lot of the communication on our website. That's something we're still working on, building out our website capacity to be able to do that with palletized donations. But unfortunately, a lot of our donors are just really still interested in sending us a spreadsheet and communicating over email. So we're also sort of, balancing how worthwhile will it be to, build out our website and create this cool new system when people just sometimes want to send us a spreadsheet. So we're just flexible with what the donors are going with. But the low procurement number has been very, very helpful.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. Keith, you're up.
So, yeah, thanks. I would say at 412 Food Rescue, we have the benefit of these historical donor relationships with, for example, Gordon Foods. We started with one bulk pickup from them, which is now just last year, we added 3 additional days of pickups, really making that fleet work and make it worthwhile. So with that, similarly, we're using shared spreadsheets, a lot of Google Sheets. We are using the Food Rescue Hero app. And we have a kind of unique, the app was not designed for fleet usage. So we've worked with the FRH team and Hannah and support and everyone to kind of come up with some hacks, we call them, where we do at this point put every single rescue that goes on the truck that is planned anyway, planned or ad hoc. We put that through the app. We mark it as 1 box equals 1 pound so that operators can just tally everything. We have iPads in the trucks, sometimes using pen and paper or whatever is going to be most efficient and convenient for those operators. And they, either at the end of the delivery, the end of the day, they'll go ahead and just input that right into the app. They can also go home and do it from the web app if they don't have time while they're in the truck. But in terms of logistics with our partners, with these bulk donations, we call them, or bulk deliveries, we are keeping pretty much like a one a month per partner rotation. So you have like the first Monday, the second Tuesday, and so on. Every day of the month basically has a different route assigned to it. Of course, we have to make changes. But again, with our dispatch team, they're communicating those things. Hey, this is in the app for you. We kind of work together to make it work.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. All right. We do have a question in the chat room. So let's see. Charlie Burns says, thanks for all the great info. When you are collaborating with multiple organizations on a truckload, how do you avoid double or triple counting of impact in pounds recovered? Or is that not an issue for you guys? Keith, let's go.
Sure. So on those like spreadsheets that we'll input with our iPads, we just do a really, try to keep everything separated. Here's your first stop, your first NPP, second, third, fourth, fifth, sometimes up to 7. So once we fill in the first one, we move on. We've gone to the next stop. We should be filling in the next. I mean, sometimes there is some confusion. It's easy to make a typo or click on the wrong place. But for the most part, the operators know very well, hey, we just moved 800, 1,200 pounds of food, and we gave it a neighborhood resilience project. We've moved on. I feel like the muscle memory tells you you're not going to count all of that again. We are hand counting every parcel or every box that is on the truck. Usually we get a pretty good estimate, but we're also using the weights listed on the boxes, unless we get items that are partial, that they've been returned because maybe the box is broken open and they've lost a little bit. We account for that in the moment.
Great, thank you. Sammy, can you go next?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Charlie, and something that I've been thinking a lot about, especially as we've grown so much at foodrecovery.org the past 2 years. Right now, a lot of it, to be honest, is getting double and triple counted. This is something that we're trying to work on. There's actually this new group that's forming the National Food Recovery Alliance, and anyone's welcome to join. I think everybody here is looped into that already on the panel, and yeah, we're always looking for more groups to join. But one of the goals from that group is bringing together a ton of food recovery organizations and saying, okay, here's this donation, because it does take a lot of partners to make this happen. So here are all of the groups involved. How can we equitably split that out? I know that's something we're working with a few organizations on around like carbon credits. And if there's two organizations that are working on one load, we're splitting the poundage. So we each claim half of the poundage of the truckload. So it does get a bit confusing. We're hoping with this alliance, we'll be able to share data in a way that makes it, we can come together and say, as a National Food Recovery Alliance, this is how much food we were able to recover in this time period, and it's not getting double counted, and we can account for the rescues where multiple of us have a hand in it.
Great. Stephanie, you're next.
Yes, I mean, very similar to what Sammy said. As I mentioned earlier, Move for Hunger works very often with foodrecovery.org. In our system, we're able to list where if certain transports were referred to us by another organization. So for all the ones, for example, with foodrecovery.org, we have a spot to list that so we can track those as well. But in some cases, I think, yes, both of our organizations, for example, are counting those pounds. But when I think about the process of it, we're both, actively working on that together. So they did help recover that by connecting different people and transportation resources to get that food to a food bank. And likewise, my team might have coordinated the transportation. So we're both kind of covering different aspects of that, which is why I think so far we've both been counting them because our teams are both actively working on them, as an example. But at least at Move for Hunger, I know we're able to track if we were referred, if there was another organization involved. So we can also just see what that relationship has led to, how many pounds we've been able to do together.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. I don't know if there's any food rescue organization or food bank that uses just one platform to track weights or data. And so it'd be interesting to look at the internal double and triple counting because of the multiple systems. Anyway, we won't get into that today. Thank you guys for sharing. Let's see. Oh, we got another question. Keith, do you only pick up once a month at some locations because of your capacity restrictions or because donors request less frequent pickups? Take it away, Keith.
Sure. No, so I may have misspoken. We are visiting our nonprofit partners with bulk deliveries about once a month, just for equitability purposes. Our larger nonprofit partners that are, emptying their distribution within an hour of our delivery. Sometimes, and because we have these, don't have a warehouse, we need to clear the truck. We may go to those large nonprofits and make additional deliveries. But like with Gordon Foods, we are actually picking up 4 out of 5 days a week. I can't think of, we get regular ad hocs from people like Kraft Heinz who might not have something for us every week. And we work with them on a biweekly or as needed basis as those donations come in. But for the most part, people are regularly donating, or I should say donors are giving more frequently than once a month. Definitely above that on average.
So by doing that, Keith, having a different agency every month, you're able to serve more agencies, right?
Correct.
Doing them once a week.
Right. And those bulk deliveries are highly sought after. Before we expanded and before Gordon's expanded their donations to us, we would get requests like, when are you going to bring, people call it the meat truck because there tends to be more meat on it than our other donations. But at this point, we've kind of gotten through that whole list of requests and gotten everybody onto a regular route, which I'm really proud of.
That's huge. I know that's huge logistically to be able to just reproduce the schedule and make small tweaks as you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. Okay. I had a question, then I forgot. So we're going to go to another question. All right. So if you guys can quickly just popcorn, what's the best part of securing these large large deliveries through the transportation means you have? Sammy, go.
It's fun to have such a big impact. I get to go to some of these events, especially when they're in New York, and it's just awesome to be able to spend the whole afternoon distributing the food. And it's really impactful to just be able to share with a huge group of people.
Stephanie?
I would say, unfortunately, at Move for Hunger, we don't get to always see the distributions happen. They go to our partner receiving agencies. But I think something that I really enjoy about how we do it at Move for Hunger is that we're able to engage the everyday person that is working at a company that oftentimes isn't historically or traditionally involved in food rescue, like moving companies or a furniture rental company. And we're giving them an opportunity to give back. And for their company to give back as well. And so we get a lot of really fun stories from people of how much they enjoyed it, how it's great for their team, and how they feel like they're also giving back to their community. So I think just being able to engage everyday people, I think a lot of people want to help. We just have to give them the opportunity to do so.
And that is exactly what you're doing. That's awesome. All right, Keith.
Sure. I think very similarly to Stephanie, what she said, it's the impact that we're having on our partner communities. We're not necessarily seeing the folks who are taking the food from distributions, but we are talking to the volunteers and volunteer coordinators at those sites, and just the relationships that come out of that and the genuine appreciation when they tell us, hey, we were able to feed 300 families last week with your 1 or 2 deliveries. It really makes an impact in their lives. And that is something I can take back to my team and share the importance of the work that we're doing.
Absolutely. Super impactful. Well, thank you, all of you, Stephanie, Sammy, and Keith, for the wonderful presentations and so much insight into larger fleet and begged, borrowed, or bought deliveries. So awesome. I really appreciate you guys, and I think the audience appreciates you too. I do want to make a reminder to fill out your session evaluation when that gets to you. All right. And then next on the agenda coming up at noon is Transforming Food Systems, How a Food Justice Mindset plus Food Recovery Brings System Change. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.